I am sharing with you two very simple dinners that I've made, and the first one is a one-pot hamburger helper lasagna. Now I have a second pan because I wanted to add some vegetables to this, just because I wanted to have everything kind of in one bowl. I could have added frozen peas, but I had some mushrooms and peppers that I wanted to use up, so I'm just sauteing them separately. So anyways, the ground beef, I have the onion cooked down, and then I'm just going to add the vegetables. I didn't really get any extra liquid out of it. I just kind of sauteed it, and I guess the heat helped to evaporate it. So I'm adding 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning and some salt and pepper. I will link the recipe down below. I pretty much did everything according to the recipe except add some extra vegetables. So you can play around with that. You could even put in some mixed vegetables or frozen, whatever you wanted to do, but you just might have a little bit of extra liquid. That's the only thing you have to worry about. So anyways, to the meat and seasonings, I'm going to add 3 cups of the chicken broth. I'm just using a lower sodium one, and that's what it says in the recipe. And then I'm going to add 2 cups of marinara sauce. You could use any kind that you want, but I use the Rayo's marinara. I get it at Costco because it is much better priced than the regular grocery stores. And I find it's just one of the best pasta sauces that I've ever tried. It's as close to homemade flavor as you can get. It's really high quality and I like it. And I find it kind of brings the recipe up. And honestly, if all you had was tomato sauce, it would probably work too. And then I do have the Mafalda pasta. I think that's what is called. I can't find it in the grocery stores, but I was at Bulk Barn. It's a store in Canada. And I was really wanting to make a lasagna soup, but I never ended up making it. So that's why I'm making the hamburger helper lasagna. So anyways, I'm just making sure that the pasta is kind of all in with the liquid. And then it just says on a medium heat to bring it to a boil and then turn it down to low. So I'm just kind of waiting for it to come to a boil. So there it is, coming to a boil. You can already see that some of the pasta has started to absorb the liquid. Now, if I was to put the lid on this, it would cause more liquid just because of the condensation. So that's something to think about too. So anyways, I'm going to let this sit for the 15 minutes, and there it is. You can see it got like a lot richer, thicker, thickened up. And then I'm just adding in 1 cup of mozzarella cheese. I honestly didn't measure it. You could even put Parmesan cheese in here if you wanted, whatever you have. It doesn't have to be mozzarella. That's the thing about cooking. You can really adapt to whatever you have. So I'm just going to work this in. I felt like it was enough cheese. I didn't want it too cheesy. It was more like the ground beef, the vegetables, and the pasta. And then I didn't have any fresh parsley. I never do. So I just put some of the dried stuff on. So I'm just going to let it sit for a couple of minutes. It thickens up a little bit more with the cheese. And I just love one-pot dinners. This is something that everybody's going to like. There's going to be leftovers. It's a hit. I loved it. I would definitely make it again. And then all I did was put it into a bowl, and I just put a little bit of fresh Parmesan on top just to fancy it up a little bit of black pepper. Simple, easy. Everybody loved it. Used what I had. And the best part is there's leftovers, and it was an easy cleanup too, because the pans that I use are just so easy to clean. So anyways, this was a hit. If you make it, let me know. I was looking for something specific for a recipe, so I have some water with salt getting ready to boil, and then I'm going to be adding 10 ounces of spaghetti. The recipe I'm using is called stir-fry noodles from Dinner at the Zoo. I always love her recipe. She's kind of my go-to website. So I'm making a stir-fry noodle recipe, but making it my own. So I don't have the fresh egg noodles. I'm using spaghetti because that's kind of what I had and what I was kind of looking for. I'm also not using chicken breast. I am using 6 skinless, boneless chicken thighs that I just cut into small pieces, and I'm just using olive oil instead of vegetable oil, and then I'm going to season with salt and pepper. So I'm just stirring these around, just trying to get them cooked, not all the way through because there is a little bit more cooking, and then I am going to remove them from the pot too, and then as they sit with a little bit of tinfoil, they'll continue to cook. So Dinner at the Zoo is one of those websites that I love to go to because she uses pretty much ingredients that I always have on hand, but I also like that I can change things up and make it for what I'm looking for. And on this night, I was just looking for something with kind of an Asian theme, but with noodles, because my husband and I really like that. And the only noodles I had were spaghetti. So that's what we went with. I didn't want ramen. I wanted something a little bit different. So here are the vegetables. It called for shiitake mushrooms. I used white mushrooms. It said shredded or julienne carrots. I wish I would have julienne them. It would have taken a little bit more time, but I felt like it would have been nicer. Sliced celery and some red bell pepper. You could use whatever you want to. So while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and make the sauce. So I am using the chicken broth from the lasagna. So 1/4 cup of ginger or chicken broth. I had called for ginger, but I didn't add it. I didn't add garlic either. So 2 tablespoons of hoisin sauce. That's something I actually have on hand. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, a tablespoon of sesame oil, and then 2 teaspoons of cornstarch to mix it up. I wasn't sure if this was going to be enough sauce. I was a little bit worried, but every time I've made her recipes, they've always turned out perfect. So I was trusting the process. And if you didn't have hoisin sauce, you could use like a barbecue sauce, or it's really an Asian barbecue sauce. You use extra soy sauce if you didn't have it. So anyways, there is the vegetables. I'm going to add the chicken in right now and then just kind of work that in a little bit. And then I'm just waiting for my spaghetti noodles to cook, because honestly, that took the longest, was waiting for the water to come to a boil and then cook the spaghetti noodles. So they're finally done. And now it did call for 10 ounces, but I didn't know if this was going to be too much. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and I think this is going to be okay. I didn't want to have too many noodles because sometimes I find pasta can be too much. Same with the hamburger helper. It was perfect. Like, I found the 8 ounces is a good amount. And that's probably what I should have done with this too, was done the 8 ounces. So I have some spaghetti left in case I want to add to it. I can always use it for leftovers. So anyways, it's not that big of a deal. I'd rather have extra than not enough. So I'm kind of working the sauce in, and I'm like, you know what? This doesn't look like a lot of sauce, but I'm going to follow the instructions, let it sit for about 3-4 minutes, and then see how it works out. And it worked out perfectly. I made a boo-boo. I was plating it up and I didn't hit record, so I do apologize. There's our bowls for dinner. So here is the close-up. And all I did was finish it off with some green onions and some sesame seeds. This was amazing. It was exactly what I was looking for. We loved it. There was just enough to have for leftovers for lunch. It was quick, it was simple, and most importantly, it was just something that I enjoyed the process of cooking. So the recipe is linked down below. Dinner at the Zoo. I highly recommend her webpage. She has a lot of great recipes. So I hope that you enjoyed these dinners, and I'll have more to share with you soon.